Hello YouTube. My name is Brianne Steffi with Steffi Stitch, and today I am going to be sharing how I made this canopy for my boys to play with and also for us to use when we go camping. I post a lot of the process on Instagram, so I will be inserting some clips from there, but in the future I will be trying harder to make things more YouTube friendly. Okay, you'll have to pardon the noise, but I just got my magnets in the mail. And I'm so excited because I finally get to finish this project. This is gonna be a canopy that looks like a camping tent for my boys to play with, and also for us to use when we go camping with our camper van. So we can use it for changing, or if we're really getting down and dirty in the woods, we can use it for like a little restroom tent. So this is gonna be made out of this linen blend fabric. It's so soft and thick. I'm so excited. This is the top part. So far my measurements are right, so we're doing okay. And then I got some stretchy mesh, like tulle mesh, that I'm going to use for this inside portion, and I'm going to sew I got cut off, but I'm going to sew some bias tape extra wide, and then I'll hand sew in the magnet so it closes on its own. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do ties or magnets to kind of open the outside, this portion. And if I have enough of the mesh, I'm going to try to do a couple little windows here, maybe a flap, because I think it will just look nicer. And it's going to be attached to this hula hoop. We can hang it from the top of our van or by their little toy area so they can play with it. I'm excited. A quick shout out to this Walmart hula hoop because it's super sturdy. It was $6 and it's the perfect size at 27 inches in diameter. And also for this linen blend fabric, it was a part of the fabric stash my mother-in-law found for me, and I am so excited to use it. All right, so cutting up the top triangles for the cone, I got all of the dimensions and equations to get this cone part right from a website or blog called A Beautiful Mess. I'll link it down below. It worked out great. Everything fit perfectly. And I'm making sure to take all the pieces of the linen blend fabric to the serger so that it doesn't fray and it looks nice from the inside out. After everything was nice and serged up, I sewed 4 of the 8 triangles together, so I made 2 halves, and then I sewed those 2 pieces together, leaving an inch at the very top so that I can fit my strap in. There you can see the little hole I made for the strap. It was the perfect amount for the 1-inch cotton webbing I'm using for the strap, which you'll see in a second. Now I'm just double checking, making sure it fits over the hula hoop before I start the next step, which is sewing the strap into the top cone part. I pretty much eyeballed this, but I'd say I cut maybe a 12-inch strap here, folds it in half. Flipped it inside out and sewed a line straight across. I sewed over this a few times just to make sure it's extra sturdy, and that's what it looks like. Now I'm working on one of the bias tapes I'm using. This is the cotton one. I did not cut it at the bias because I'm not sewing any curves. And the other one I use is a polyester pre-made bias tape that I got from Amazon. I'm jumping back and forth a lot, but just bear with me. I am sewing the 2 outside panels together that are going to make the shell around the mosquito netting, and putting a nice 1-inch hem at the bottom. I love the way this hem came out. I'm so in love with this fabric. I can't get enough. It was one of the fancier ones that my mother-in-law gave me. Okay, now I am sewing on the bias tape to the mesh fabric, but I am not completely finishing it on the center where I'm sewing the magnets, only the very bottom part that's going to be hitting the ground. Right here, I'm taking my magnets and just making sure that they fit inside this bias tape. kind of practicing how they're going to be folded in. And later I will take a needle and thread and hand sew this all together. I'll be putting a stitch at the top and the bottom of the magnet so it doesn't slide around. Now that that bias tape is done for the time being, I am sewing all the lower panels together. So I am sewing the mesh into the outside panel, and excuse my messy carpets, but you see where all those pins are? That's where I'm sewing it kind of, 2 or 3 feet in from the center, and making sure I put a basting stitch on the very top. That way when I sew it to the top part of the cone, it is nice and easy. Now time for the windows. I just made a template with printer paper, cut out the mesh, and I put the bias tape around the outside edges, and I'm going to be cutting into the cone. I'm marking the outside and making sure I cut at least 1/2 inch in, serging it, and then taking it to the machine, doing a stitch on the very inside of the bias tape and on the very outside. I added some bias tape on the inside as well, just to cover all of the serged edges and to make it look nice and clean. And I used that same bias tape to make the 8 straps for the inside to attach to the hula hoop. I sewed them while I was sewing all the layers together, the cone and the outside panels, and I lined them up with the seams that the triangle pieces of the cone made. I hope that makes sense. Coming at you from inside the tent. I'm very happy with it. This is going to be so much fun. The boys already love it. My little one's in here right now. Almost done. I hung it up a little bit too soon, but just got my zipper in the mail. This bad boy, the double-sided tent zipper. I'm going to make a little panel on each side right there of the outside one and make it so this can close completely. That way you have privacy if you need it, if we're using it for camping. I'll finish the magnets after I sew the zipper on, and we're good to go. There's the little windows. I still got to steam it and stretch it out a little bit more, but looking good. So off camera, I made my 2 little panels for the zipper. I pretty much just made 2 1.5 inch tubes. And here I pinned it just to test it because I was so excited about this zipper. I love the zipper so much. And then I hand sewed in every single magnet. My boys have already made themselves comfortable in there, if you could see. There it is, all zipped up. I'm really happy with how this came out. I put some ties on the side and in between the outside panel and the mesh, which you'll be able to see. Oh, it's kind of peeking through there. That way I can tie the outside panel up. And there's the magnets. They're pretty strong, and I wish I had put more in there, but it'll do. You can kind of see the inside. Hang some little lanterns from the ties. There it is tied up. I'm really happy with it. And to wrap it up, here are some super awkward pictures my husband took of me next to it. I'm really proud of this guy, and I'm happy that my boys love it, and I'm hoping that we can take it camping soon. So thank you so much for watching. If you like watching videos like this, make sure to subscribe. I have a lot more videos with this huge fabric stash in my head that I'm ready to share.